Dear students, this e-content describes complete analysis of the poem A Poison Tree written by William Blake. Author's note: William Blake was born on 20th November, the year of 1757 in London, England, into the middle-class family. From the very young age, he showed extraordinary imaginative and artistic abilities. He claimed to be mystical visions as a child, which later shaped him of poetry and art. Blake was trained to be an engraver, a profession that supported him financially and allowed him to combine poetry with visual arts. He married Catherine Boucher, the year of 1782, who became a devoted champion and helped him to print color his works. Blake developed a unique methodology called illuminated printing, where his poems' illustrations are engraved on the same plate. His major work includes Songs of Innocence was published in 1789, Songs of Experience was published in 1794, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, The Tiger, the Lamp, The Chimney Sweeper, and London. Despite his genius, Blake lived in poverty and obscurity and was considered very eccentric during his lifetime. He died on the 12th August in the year of 1827 in London. After his death, his reputation steadily grew, and today he is celebrated as visionary poet and artist and revolutionary thinker. Introduction to the poem A Poison Tree. This poem was written by English poet William Blake and first published in his Songs of Experience in the year of 1794. In a deceptively simple language with almost nursery rhyme quality, the speaker of the poem details two different approaches to anger. The first, he openly talks about the anger is present in a way of moving past it. The second, the speaker outlines a danger keeping anger within. The poem uses the extended metaphor to describe the speaker's anger as growing into a tree that bears poisonous apples. The speaker's enemy then eats an apple from the tree and dies. The poem is generally interpreted as an allegory for the anger of bottling up emotions and how doing leads a cycle of negativity and even violence. William Blake was one of the most original and visionary poets of English literature. He belonged to early Romantic age and best known for his symbolic poetry, deep spiritual vision, and powerful criticism of social injustice. Blake believed that imagination was divine force in a human being, that true understanding comes from spiritual insight rather than alone. His poetry strongly reacts with the evils of his time, such as childhood labor, poverty, industrial exploitation, organized religion, and political oppression. Works like Songs of Innocence presents the world of purity, joy, and natural harmony, while Songs of Experience reveal the harsh realities of life, corruption, and loss of innocence. Through the symbols like lamp, the tiger, Blake contrasts innocence with experience. Blake's language is simple but highly symbolic, making his poems both childlike and philosophical deep. Though misunderstood and neglected during his lifetime, he is now regarded as a major romantic poet and a prophetic voice against injustice and tyranny. Read a poem, A Poison Tree by William Blake. Stanza 1. I was angry with my friend, and I told my wrath it did end. I was angry with my foe, I told it not, my wrath did grow. Stanza 2. And I watered it in a fierce night and morning with my tears, and I stunned it with my smile and with soft deceitful wills. Stanza 3. And it grew both day and night, till the bore of an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. Stanza 4. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole, and the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. And we can see the rhyming scheme such as A, B, B. So the stanza 1 of line 1 ends with d sound, and the second line ends with end d sound. So a rhyming. Then the third line ends with O sound and fourth line ends with O sound. So the rhyming is BB. So the rhyming scheme is ABBB. So this rhyming runs throughout all the stanzas. Let us see the historical background of the poem. The poem was written during the late 18th century, the period marked by revolution and radical changes. The French Revolution, it happened in 1789, strongly that influenced William Blake. So William Blake initially supported the revolution because he stood for liberty, equality, and fraternity. However, he also witnessed how suppressed anger and tyranny could turn into a violence. So England at the time feared revolution ideas and enforced strict laws against free expressions. So the people who are not supposed to express the revolt. And then Blake lived in the age of a growing industrialization, increasing poverty and class division, and strong government and church control. These tensions are reflected in the poem. The theme repressed emotion leading to dissection. Let us see the political background of the poem. Blake was openly critical of political authority and believed governments ruled over fear, repression, and moral hypocrisy. In A Poison Tree, he suppressed anger, represents political repressions, unspoken resentment among the oppressions. The speaker refusal to express anger openly the mirrors how government silence dissent, how injustice grows when its truth is hidden. The enemy can symbolically represent the tyrannical rulers, political opponents, any oppressive authority. The poem suggests that silencing anger does not eliminate it, it grows into a violence, much like political revolutions. Let us see the social background of the poem. English society was rigidly divided into upper class and lower class. The poor were expected to obey authority, then suppress emotion and accept injustice quietly. Open expressions of anger was considered to be immoral and sinful, especially by church. Blake strongly opposed social hypocrisy, forced politeness, and false Christian morality. In the poem, the speaker hides anger behind smiles and deceitful wills, reflecting social pretense and artificial politeness. This social repression leads to a moral corruption and violence. Blake criticizes a society that values appearance over honesty. Let us see the religious and moral context of the poem. The church, we can see the church promotes obedience and forgiveness without addressing injustice. Hence, the poet believed that such teaching encouraged suppression rather than healing, and it created guilt and inner conflict. And the biblical imagery of the tree and fruit echoes the tree knowledge in the Bible. The idol of sin grows from the concealed desires. Blake interprets Christianity symbolism to explore religious hypocrisy. Connection to the Songs of Experience. Songs of Experience presents the whole world as corrupted, oppression, and morally complex. Unlike Songs of Innocence, where emotions are pure and open, Songs of Experience shows what happens when emotions are controlled and destroyed by society. The poison tree illustrates the danger of repression emotions, destructive outcomes of institutional control over human feelings. We can see the overall significance of the title A Poison Tree reflects the political repression of Blake's England, social hypocrisy and class oppression, historical anxieties of surrounding revolution and authority. Blake's central warning, such as when anger and injustice are silenced instead of confronted, they grow into a force of destruction. Let us see the line by line explanation of the poem. Line 1, I was angry with my friend. The speaker is the poet admits his feeling anger towards his friend. The second line, I told my wrath and my wrath did end. So the author says he expresses anger openly. The conflict dissolves, communications resolves the problems, but it does not end because the friend's anger it keep on grows. The line 3, I was angry with my foe. Here, okay, the speaker feels anger again, but the time towards his enemy. Then fourth line, I told it not, my wrath did not grow. Because the speaker suppresses his anger and becomes stronger and more dangerous, and grows into a tree. Stanza 2, line number 5, and I watered it in fears. So the anger grows like if a plant, and water with fears shows the speaker constantly thinking anxiously about his enemy and nurturing negative feelings towards him. Then line 6, night and morning with my tears. So we can see the speaker dwells around the anger day and night and feeds it emotionally with the sorrow and bitterness. Line 7, and I stand it with my smile. The speaker pretends to be friendly towards his enemy with all his smiles and lies, and hides all his anger behind false behavior, and which led him to the anger grows secretly, and it took shape of a poisonous tree bears a fruit of an apple. Next line is 8, and we can see and with the soft deceitful wills, the deceitful tricks of the poet and the lies of the poet grows into and nourish it, and he hated in a further manner. I mean, all his action is actually it is a pretended one. The hypocrisy becomes a fertilizer to all his poisonous emotion. Stanza 3, line number 9, and it grows both day and night. The anger of the poet continues to grow continuously day and night, and it is similar like of a plant living or thriving without interruptions. Line number 10, till it bows an apple bright. This line we can see the poet's anger transforms into symbolic poisonous apple, that it represents a physical representation of fully developed malice in the mind of the poet. And the poet is so pride in growing this poisonous tree with the apple fruits in order to trap his enemy. Line number 11, and my foe beheld it shine. The enemy noticed the apple bearing the poisonous tree in the poet's garden, and its bright appearance is tempting the enemy to steal it by plucking it into and then entering into his poet's garden. Then line number 12, we can see the lines such as, and he grew that it was mine. So the foe, the enemy of the speaker, recognizes that the apple belongs to the speaker, suggesting that temptation mixed with danger, possibility, even trap. So this trap is pre-planned by the speaker in order to catch hold of his enemy red-handed. Stanza 4, line number 13, and into my garden stole. The four sneaks into speaker's garden at night, suggesting secrecy and wrongdoing, possibly driven by desire for an apple. So we can see the rival of the speaker enters into the garden in order to steal this poisonous apple. Line number 14, when the night had veiled the pole. Night hides the sky, which is known as a pole, symbolizes darkness and moral blindness. When a hidden action takes place, so when the night has been completely hidden by this pole, so the enemy enters into his garden and stole this apple and eats that apple. Line number 15, in the morning glad I see. The speaker wakes the next morning with a sense of satisfaction. Then he come to garden to see what has happened. Line number 16, my foe outstretched beneath the tree. We can see the foe is lying dead under the tree, killed by poisonous fruit. So this is the final result of nurtured and unspoken anger that is completely hidden in the mind of the poet. In order to see the overall meaning, the poem shows that how suppressed anger becomes destructive, harming both enemy and his person who hides his emotion. Honest communication can resolve conflict by harboring hatred leads to violence and moral corruption. Blake uses images of growing poisonous tree to show how emotion repressions can turn deadly. The poem shows how anger, when expressed honestly, fades away. When the hidden and nourished with fear, deceit, and hatred, it grows into something dangerous. Blake uses the image of the tree and bears poisonous apple and shows how suppressed anger can become deadly. In end, the speaker enemy tempted by poisonous fruit dies and revealing a destructive power of the repression, emotion, and deceit. Let us see the literary device found in this poem. The one, it is metaphor. The central metaphor is comparing anger to the growing tree that bears a poisonous apple. Apple is a seed and hatred is growth, and apple finally destructive results. Next is symbolism. That here the tree symbolizes the growing of anger and hatred. An apple represents the symbolism of temptation, revenge, and consequence of suppressed anger. And we can see the symbolism of garden. The speaker's mind or the inner emotion world are referred to the garden. The night here represents the symbolism of secrecy and deceit of mind of the poet. Then the next device is personification. Anger is treated like an living things that can be watered, stunned, and grown into and plant. So the anger is being personified. The next device is alliteration. Repeated consonant sounds creates rhythm. Examples such as stunned with the smiles. So S sound stunned and S sound smile. These are alliterations we can find. Then soft, deceitful wills. And next is contrast. The poem contrasts expressed anger with ends, then hidden anger with grows dangerously. The next device is imagery, vivid visual images, watering in fears, shining apples, force lying out stretched beneath a tree. This helps the readers to see the emotional growth of something physical symbolism. Next device is irony. We can see force, steals what he thinks is a tempting apple, but in turn it's turned to be a deadly one. And the speaker also feels glad that it adds moral irony that enemy eats his apple of means of tempting, but at the end he dies. So it is an irony we can see in this poem. And we can see the rhyming scheme such as regular A, B, B, rhyming pattern of each quatrains giving a poem simple nursery rhythm like, and it contrasts with the dark meaning. Next, literary devices, biblical allusion. The apple and garden recalls the Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruits of the apple, symbolizing temptation, sin, and moral downfall of man. Next, we can see the form and structure of the poem. The form is lyric poem. The poem is lyric because it expresses personal emotion, especially like of anger, fear, and deceit of a man. And it is also a part of Blake's collections, Songs of Experience, which explores dark human feelings. Next is quatrains, four stanzas. The poem has four stanzas, each of with 4 lines, making with 16 lines in total. Each stanza represents step in emotion process, anger with friend verse 4, and nurturing hidden anger. The anger grows into poisonous trees and deadly results. The rhythmic scheme as such A, B, B. Each stanza follows the regular A, B, B rhyming pattern. This gives the poem a simple, almost nursery rhyme rhythm, which creates a contrast to the dark, serious theme of vengeance. Next device is meter, mostly tetrameter trochaic. Each line generally contains 4 beats. Tetrameter. The trochaic rhythm, stressed syllable followed by unstressed syllable, makes the poem sound steady and rhythmic, enhancing the fable-like style. Example pattern is da-dum, 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 da-dum. Next device is narrative structure. The poem follows clear linear progression. Conflict such as anger expressed versus suppressed anger. Then growth represents anger nurtured like a plant. Temptation is a poisonous apple form. Consequences, the foe's death. And this gives the poem structure of a moral tale or a parable. Next device is use of simple language. The poem uses simple everyday words, making easy to read but deep in meaning. This simplicity matches the poem's moral fable-like storytelling. Next device is symbolic structure. The entire poem is structured around extended metaphor of a tree growing suppressed anger. Each stanza represents a stage of metaphorical growth. Here, the growth of the tree could be compared with the growth of the mind of the anger, which is completely suppressed in oppressed form. Let us see the theme of the poem. The first is anger and its consequence. The central theme is expressed anger disperses, suppressed anger grows to something dangerous, and Blake shows his hidden emotion that can lead to the destruction of his foe. The next theme is repression and communication. The poem contrasts honest communication with his friend and repression and silence with the foe, and repression becomes poisonous and led to a moral and physical harm of the foe. The next theme is deceit and hypocrisy. The speaker represents to be friendly while secretly nurturing hatred. False smiles and deceitful wiles helps in anger grows and show how hypocrisy corrupts relationship. The next theme is growth of evil versus corruption of human heart. We can see the poet's anger grows from a small feeling into a tree bearing a deadly apple, symbolizing how evil can take a root and flourish when it fled by negative emotions. Next theme is revenge. The poem explores the destructive nature of revenge. The speaker feels glad when his foe dies, and revealing how revenge dehumanizes the person seeking it. Next theme is temptation. The bright apple symbolizes temptation, like in a biblical forbidden fruit. The foe is drawn to it, and even though it is deadly, this reflects how temptation can be by things and that harm us. The next theme is the dark side of the human nature. Here we can see the poet Blake shows the human are capable of nurturing hatred and enjoying revenge and hiding their true feelings, revealing a dark psychology truth. Next theme is biblical allusion and origin sin. The poem echoes the Garden of Eden story. The poisonous apple represents a sin and moral decline, linking the personal emotion of anger to a universal theme of guilt and fall.